When I first moved to Thanet, I came down and visited a few times while I still live in Southampton, and it was all like a dream place to me. I thought, oh, the beach, you know, because we didn't have that down there. Oh, the arcades and everything. And I thought, oh, this seems a nice place to move to. And when I got here, after a while, it just seemed like, wow, just so many people unemployed here. Couldn't believe it, actually, how much the unemployment was in this place. There was a lot of young mothers and like her partners who didn't have jobs, and I was just surrounded by them all. Actually, when I moved down, I couldn't believe it, how much it was. When you get started on my garden, then you lot.
After you've done this garden.
To make ends meet, it is difficult, yeah, definitely. I mean, well, I struggle from each week to each week. It's a struggle. I get paid on a Friday. By the time I get back and done my shopping, I know that until next Friday, it's the next time I'm going to get my money, and that is it. I'm skint. And the only way I get by is to borrow throughout the week. So then you know you've got to pay the money back, and it's just a vicious circle. That's what it's like every week. I've had loans. I mean, I had to get a loan for Christmas. It was the only way I could get a Christmas for my children, was to get a loan. And now I know that I've got a whole year of paying that loan back.
Did you pay a lot of interest on that?
Yes, yeah. It's I had a £100 loan. On a £100 loan you have to pay £55 back.
55% interest then, basically, on a loan, which is a lot of money.
Yeah, it's leaves me shorter each week out of my money.
Thanet is much poorer than the rest of the southeast of England. Parts are as poor as the poorest inner city areas.
Do you want to move away?
Well, if I'm looking for a decent job, then I've got no choice but to, really. Or travel, at least. Do you know what I mean? Because there's no jobs down here. The only way you're going to get a decent job down here, that's a lucky break.
Mum's sitting there watching the telly. So Mum knows me. That's her nickname.
Snow, the one that makes the fan.
Still know that geezer at Butterworths and does that crumble grab?
And most of the people you know, your friends, sort of taking drugs?
Oh yeah. Mostly. There's about 70% down here take drugs.
I mean, because there's nothing else to do. You've got to have money to survive. And if there's no jobs, you can't live on £37 a week or whatever it is off the social. You've got to go out and you've got to, you know, find a little sideline here and there, like, get a bit of money behind it.
Have you got friends, know people who've ended up in prison?
Yeah, my brother's been in prison loads of times, like, all sorts of different reasons. But, I mean, it's the way of life down here.
Is anyone sort of thinking of leaving Thanet soon?
I think we're all going to migrate to Jamaica.
We'll put it this way, when one of the twins are like me, then we'll be sorted.
We're all going.
We're all going. That's it.
The council says it's regenerating the area, you know, getting things back better. Do you think they're succeeding? Are things getting better?
No, they're just saying it. Basically. They're just.
The local council claims to be regenerating the area. Do you think they're succeeding?
No, they're not. There's far too much unemployment. We just need to generate more jobs.
The employment rate is falling, but not to an acceptable level. And one wonders how much of the rate is being affected by part-time jobs, by job shares, rather than the traditional full-time work. Male unemployment is still, I believe the last figure was somewhere around about 14%. It must be put in the context of every available grant, I should imagine, has been available to Thanet for the last few years, from Europe, from the government, from all sorts of other quangos here, there and everywhere. They all seem to be offering us money. But if we are doing no better than treading water with this huge investment, how well will we do when the taps are turned off, which inevitably must happen at some stage.
There's supposed to be a lot of regeneration going on in this area. How do you feel? Have you seen any of it?
No.
The council came in about 4 or 5 years ago and said they were going to regenerate the area, bring jobs back to the area. I mean, how successful do you think they've been?
Not that successful, to be honest.
They will accept any promise, no matter how bizarre. We've had towers on the beach, we've had glass-fronted holiday seafront, miles of shimmering water, I don't know what it's going to be called. We've had retail parks, we've had goodness knows what. We've had such dodgy companies occasionally coming forward that one glance at the glossy brochure, you wouldn't buy double glazing from them, and yet these have been considered earnestly. They are. Now, I know the council must consider them, but I think they must consider them in a common sense way. Also, they must not be seduced totally by the job blackmail. Sometimes one thinks that if we were offered Sellafield, certain people on the council would say, yes, we'll take that because there might be a job.
Who's promising to resurrect it then?
The council.
Oh, right.
When?
Better do something
When?
quick.
Last year it was supposed to be.
Oh, dear me.
Well, they better hurry up. Or else I'll give it 2 or 3 years and it'll be finished.
We built it up and built it up. In 1991, we had 40 weeks of business, which is a lot of money. Our turnover went from 67,000 in 80 to 291,000 in 91. We were doing good dough.
When did things start to change?
Probably 5 years before, the late 80s, we noticed that DSS were coming into this area.
The DSS were unemployed homeless people, many of whom came from outside Thanet, some sent here by the councils of other areas.
We actually asked for a meeting with the council. I think I was the chairman of the hoteliers at that time, and they absolutely said there was no problem with DSS in this area at all. It was well under control. There were something like 17 establishments taking it, and they knew all about it and was never going to worry the hotel business.
What happened?
Well, the DSS encroached more and more into the area. It became very noticeable eventually. We had a long-term coach contract with a company up north who used to bring us 12 weeks business a year. And the question was, Michael, how close is the nearest DSS hostel to you? On the telephone. And I said, oh, I lied. A couple of streets away, you know, really. Actually, it was there. And he said, well, I've had reports and I'm going to pop down to see you. So he came, spot visit. There were people standing on the ramparts, urinating on the passers-by, and business disappeared.
In 1995, the Riverdale itself became a hostel for the DSS. It was rapidly run down.
It's somewhere to live. Basically, that's where it's somewhere to live. And I'm grateful for that.
But 1999 brought a bright new start. The Riverdale was taken over and reopened as a hotel. With the help of £42,000 of European regeneration funding, it was refurbished and relaunched. The new owners promised great things.
Are you looking forward to a busy summer?
Very busy summer, yes, we are, yes. We have a lot of bookings at the moment. And by looking at those lot of bookings, we can predict that we will have a very good summer this year. Fingers crossed.
Until the mid-1990s, politically, Thanet was a Tory stronghold. It had 2 extremely active Conservative MPs, one of them the ill-fated Cabinet Minister Jonathan Aitken. The Conservatives, led by Margaret Thatcher, claimed free market policies would bring national prosperity. It was during this time that Thanet's fortunes plummeted.
God, did she really go mad? I mean, I can't believe that you have a woman that I feel brought this country to its knees, who's now sitting in the House of Lords. I'd take her out and shoot her. I would, honestly. And I'm not a revolutionary, I'm a very moderate man. Well, I think I am. Perhaps I'm not so moderate these days.
But a few years ago, like much of Britain, Thanet went Labour, voting in a Labour council and a Labour MP, Steve Ladyman.
But I think the future over the next 20 years is going to be very bright. I think this is going to be a very prosperous community and a very pleasant community to live, and it's going to build on what's best about Thanet, which are the positive aspects of the people who live here.
New Labour promised to regenerate Thanet using European funding. It built 3 business parks, to which it claimed it would attract new industry, providing employment, prosperity. But what's been the result of all this effort?
And the business parks, are they actually filling up with lots of companies, do you think?
Well, put it this way, businesses are not flocking to the business park or the business parks. You ask me what has moved on to them, I'd be hard pushed. I think what has. There's one splendid car park manufacturer which has been there for years and years and years, and was sat there in wonderful isolation there. And I think that obviously they're happy there, but they're not looking at the rabbits or whatever they get in the fields around there. But so the signs coming into Thanet for business parks, follow signs to Ramsgate. But I just wish more businesses did.
It's going ahead. It's slow. We've been in office now almost 4 years, and truthfully, I would have expected that we would have been more ahead than we are, but it is difficult to encourage companies to come and locate here. We are meeting with success, but there's still a long way to go.
What makes the difficulties then?
I'm not sure.
New Labour also promised to breathe new life into the derelict Ramsgate seafront with Amazonia.
Amazonia is going to be a leisure retailing complex where the retailing elements are designer outlets, and the leisure element is a scheme called Amazonia, which is a sort of a team game where you interact with computers and where you have to try and find a lost aeroplane in a jungle which will be growing in a glazed building.
We've also got some major leisure attractions in the planning. For example, the old Pleasure Armour building, which burned down whilst we were renovating the seafront, that is going to be completely rebuilt. It's going to be still going to have a retail designer outlet village in the basement, but it's also going to have a multiplex cinema, a nightclub, bowling alley, and other attractions over the top of it. Hopefully, building on that will start in February next year. That's the developer's intention.
2 years later, the attractions have still to appear.
There's a long history in the area of great projects and schemes being devised and announced with a great fanfare.
Yeah, the usual pattern is something is sort of knocked down with a view to being refurbished, but the refurbishment doesn't quite come off, so you lose what you had initially. And I think Ramsgate Seafront has always been a huge monument to that.
There's always going to be jam tomorrow, but there's never going to be jam today. And again, it's just, let's wait and see. Well, the day-to-day problems that people face, they're still experiencing them, and there's no, you know, I don't think anybody feels any more optimistic, anybody feels any more positive, you know, with the prospect that at some time in the future things are going to get better. What about now? The tragedy is we've lived under a Tory government for as long as many people can remember, and what they've offered us is the market and the misery that comes with it. With Blair now leading the Labour Party, all that's on offer is more of the market and more of the misery. You can see the evidence of the free market wherever you walk in Thanet, the dereliction and the wasted human lives, you know, the unemployment. You can just see it reeks of the market. The market's been let rip, and it's ripped.
The areas that I do think we should seriously think about and seriously look at is the issue of the welfare state, and not just defending, but extending the principle of the welfare state. Because too often we're defending something that is declining. We should be aggressive and demanding. And I'll tell you, people learn more by going on a picket line, going on a march, going on a demonstration than they do from any number of newspaper articles, books or anything else. People learn through struggle, and they learn amazingly quickly through struggle. We are working together because we're socialists. We might disagree, tactics here and there, structures, forms and so on here and there, but let's also look at areas we can work together and really make that difference. And I really do believe that the issue of the welfare state is so crucial to every worker, every pensioner, every child, every young person, and crucially every unemployed person. There's the basis there for real unity against a rotten system that's creating the poverty and misery of an underclass and poor pensioners within our society. Let's stand together on those issues, and I think we'll do an awful lot of good for the socialist movement worldwide.
Thank you very, very much indeed. We cannot go on having remote policy making where people decide somewhere in a remote location this is what works on the basis of focus group X, opinion poll Y, or what's said in the Financial Times last week, or what the Daily Mail might say next week. Can't we work from the basis that everyone who is a party member or party supporter, or indeed member of the public, is an intelligent person with lots of life experience and lots of ideas? Let's hear those ideas, let's hear that life experience, let's take that thing forward. This part of Britain, Thanet, has huge problems. It has problems of poverty, it has problems of unemployment, it has problems of underemployment, it has problems of low quality employment with a lot of people on 0 hours contracts not knowing what they're going to earn from one week to the next, or indeed often from one day to the next. And it has a housing problem brought of the lack of council housing as a whole, particularly everywhere in Britain for that matter, but it also has a huge problem of the lack of regulation of the private rented sector. Who is actually paying the price for the banking crisis of 2008? Is it those that made a great deal of money out of the banking industry before 2008, those that put money into tax havens all over the world, or is it the poorest, most vulnerable, ordinary working people of this country that actually are paying the price for that crisis? I think we all know the answer to that question. If the Labour Party doesn't accept the basic principles we were founded to achieve, a decent, fair society, proper housing, proper healthcare, education access for all, fair taxation, which does tax the very richest, does get the money back from the tax havens and the tax loopholes, then what are we for? Are we so afraid of adopting political principles that ensure our children are educated and housed, our children are able to live longer than we do, our grandchildren are able to live even longer than our own children? You can't do it with a free market alone. You cannot do it by individuals alone. You do it together. You achieve things together. You do things collectively. That is how we make a better society. And that is what's so exciting about this campaign. Thank you very much.
the campaign that we did, meetings like this discussed those issues. And what was really interesting is people understood the way the world works. They understood what the issues were, and people came forward with their solutions. And one of the solutions to the crisis, quite straightforwardly, is we cannot allow wages to be suppressed anymore. For the first time, the amount going to wages and salaries has gone below 50%. We've not had that for nearly a century. The rest goes to shareholders and others and speculators. We're now going to have a policy development process which is the most open and transparent and engaging any political party has engaged in the history of this country. Everyone will have the right to have their say. Everybody's views will be respected. And the potential, I think, is enormous. So what we want people to do in the local momentum groups, start working out your own local economic plans. This is what we can do in our area if we're given the resources and potential of an incoming government under Jeremy Corbyn's leadership. I think that's extremely exciting, that you take control again of your own economy. Austerity is just a word, but actually in practice it's devastating.